thing to order. It's been a little while since I've done this, gang. We'll start call to order. So, and then roll call. Okay, roll call. I'll start. Let's do clockwise around the room, and then we'll go online. So, Logan Dunning, Vice Chair, present.
Cara Frangipani, present.
Tiana Duncan, present.
Steven Strawbridge, present.
Tracy Sabina, present.
Online.
Shelley Oren, present.
Joe Anderson, Council Liaison, present.
And Mel.
And me.
And Mike's probably gonna be here any second, so I'll go grab him. Okay, so we have a quorum. Right?
Yeah.
Someone confirm that, thank you. Okay, approval of August minutes. Any thoughts, any feedback from last month's meeting? Lingering qualms, airing grievances? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the August minutes.
I'll approve.
Second.
Second by Steven. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? None. And Rick's here. So, pause. No pause. Look, pretty good agenda tonight. Two bigger items. We want to dive into this tree ordinance that we've been working on. And then we'll have a couple updates, and then I will plan to provide an update on the communications subcommittee. So with that, I will let Mike take over and kick off our agenda. What's going on?
Sir.
Good to see
Sorry
you.
about
Rick,
that.
good to see you.
He's late.
Rick, President, Chairman Chisholm,
Okay.
present.
So where are we?
Top of the order.
Top of the order.
Got to the tree
Upcoming
ordinance.
task, man?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh.
Take a breath, you're good. We're good. You got handouts. You take this.
I'm old and I'm slowing down.
We're good. Thank you.
Great. So thank you, everybody. We got quite a bit of input on our thoughts and recommendation regarding tree ordinance. So I would like to open it up for discussion. Mel, why don't you explain what you received and what we have, what we're working at, and then I would invite everybody to give us their thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first memo that you all saw, the ones without Evan's comments are on them. I drafted that for your guys' request. Those are all your own words, none of mine. You can even track them with the last ones that you guys submitted. The only thing that's going to be different there is that everyone gave these fund names for the tree fund. So to not pick a favorite, I just left it as a very vague tree fund. You all can decide what name you want for that if you want to change it. And then a lot of people gave different amounts for fees in there. So I didn't put any fee in there to not pick favoritism of one fee over the other. That's the only differences that you all should see. And then to expedite the process, I had the finished memo and I sent it over to our city forester, Evan Anderson, who I think you all have met, and asked him if he wanted to provide some red lines or feedback for you all to consider. You all don't have to approve of them if you don't want to. If you like your original one, by all means keep it. It's just another opinion going in there. So I think that's it from my end.
Did he give me any reasons why we have more red lines than black lines on this?
So I think the red line, the main one that was the big one, was that delineate the tree protection one. He just simplified it into, and this is just my take on his red line. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he just tried to simplify it. There were a lot of details in there, and he said, instead he just said let's follow the best management practices. And I think, in my opinion, our urban forester would be the best ones to decide that, since he has the knowledge and the background in it. So yeah, just making it more flexible, I think, for him going in the future to really decide what those best practices are when it comes to that tree saving zone.
So these are Evan's edits.
Evan's edits,
Okay.
yeah.
Mel, would it be safe to say that maybe he's giving himself some wiggle room in terms of not wanting it to be too granular? When I read through it, my interpretation was he doesn't want us to be specific, which would allow him the flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately he's probably going to draft something. So that's just my take. I mean, is that a reasonable interpretation?
I think that's safe to assume, yeah. And and again, in my opinion, I think Evan or whatever city forester should be kind of the main ones deciding or pitching those best management practices, but.
Yeah, that's the last sentence of that his red line that's an addition before all the red lines get crossed out.
Right.
He will do it.
That makes sense, like he's the expert.
Well, and he's got to carry it out.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the one
So if he gets the,
rulemaking.
we put things in here that really are not things that he feels are appropriate to what his responsibilities are.
What I don't know is if this recommendation goes to council, and they approve it, does that mean they've approved whatever he says, or does it come back through for approval after he's drafted it? Because this is essentially, I'll draft something.
Yeah, from my take, and Joe, please pipe in if you think I'm wrong. So these suggestions, the memo would go to city council, and then if they do decide to take these suggestions with that ordinance, those extra steps Evan would have to do, and then it would still have to go to council for approval of, those nitty gritties part of the ordinance. All those go in front of council. It's just the step that they're approving to actually have happen.
So council
Yeah, I
could
think
look
that's
at
right.
Evan's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that sounds like the right process.
Yeah, I would be a fan of that. It just sounds a little risky if what's approved is blank check. Go say something about how developers will behave, best practices.
Yeah, it would still go to city council. Any code, city council really gets the final say in how that goes.
Great, and I do think that's probably the best use of, he's heard our thoughts, he's seen them,
Mm-hmm.
but he obviously thought it could be said better, and I don't take offense to that.
No, where's Kara's input? I don't see a copy of what she sent in.
Oh, I only printed Evan's. I can put Kara's up on the screen.
Um,
Sorry, and I got confused with all the versions. going
Kara
over
put some
emails.
work into refining and giving feedback. There's a lot of similarity. I'm going to say Kara has a little more granular pieces to it, but I think we need to consider that.
And does that show, do I see Christine Brinker present?
Yes,
Okay.
Christine had sent me some minor ones that I put on the top. And I can zoom in on this too a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that she was present for the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for blowing that up for us.
Kara, any part you want me to specifically go to?
No, I mean, I think somebody had sent this around originally and I just kind of like either expanded or cleaned up some of the original draft. I'm not sure who did that. But I think the one thing that I added that we might want to consider is tying the tree removal process to like permitting. I don't know how you keep track of it otherwise. Like you would need a permit to take down a tree or, some sort of authority that says it's okay for you to do that. So I don't know what the group thinks about that, but I think that's the only deviant that I kind of added to this as like a major difference. But I don't know.
So you're saying before anybody can take down a tree, they would have to have a permit to do so?
Yeah, or some sort of authority from the city, obviously we're saying the first step is the evaluation by the city forester. But like how is all that being documented, right? How do we know that the process is actually being followed? So with a permit, there's actually like a paper trail of, this person followed the proper steps to go about, getting the evaluation, getting the approval to either cut down the tree or not cut down the tree. So that was the only thing that I.
Would that go through Evan? Who would issue that permit? What would this process look like? Do you have any idea?
Well, I think in addition, the fees that we were all talking about, I carved out, in brackets, say like 80% go to the tree fund and say the city retains 20% to account for the additional costs in processing a new permit process for tree removal.
Okay.
So, yeah, administrative fees, to account for that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. But within the draft here, I don't think we talk about fees. That was all taken out, right?
There's still the mention of fees, it's just not specific. And the one thing
Yeah.
I'll say was specifically saying like 80% will go to this and 20% will go to this. Putting a specific on there without actually knowing the percentage of what it would be, that's the only thing that sometimes I like when things are a little more vague, so then you can figure out what that is and put that into practice.
Which is fine, because I imagine when whoever goes to write this ordinance, like in the official manner, you know, through the legal department at the city, I mean, they're gonna think about all of that when it comes to fees,
Right.
you know, costs and divvy it up. But I just like, with the addition of permits, it is going to increase the administrative needs of the city, and so you want to kind of account for that.
And I wonder if Evan, and I don't want to speak for Evan, I'm wondering if in those best management practices is putting together that process for permitting and the checks and balances. I'm wondering.
It could be, yeah. I don't think.
Or else, like, how would we even know if people do anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some level of, you know, steps to take where it's documented that, like,
For sure.
you know, person over here, you know, got the approval and has the authority to take down their tree or whatever. So I don't know what that looks like, but I imagine the city would think that through. I don't know if we want to include that in the, you know, in our draft proposal, or just leave it up to the city when they go to write it. It's not our job to write the code, but.
It seems to me like Evan's, whatever happens, whatever this outcome is, Evan's going to have a piece of it. He's going to have a responsibility within it, and I don't know how granular we get as far as you know, what specific administrative tasks need to be tied to this. You know, that could be something that we could leave for a next phase of this thing.
Yeah.
We just put the general statement together. You know, fees associated here, percentage of fees to go where, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, totally.
I would agree. That seems to be our scope and purpose as a commission, is to at least send this idea a starting point and then leave the rest up to Evan for the finer details, the BMPs.
So is the feeling that Evan's edits are palatable to this group? Is there anything, Cara, that you want to pound your fist on the table and say, dang it, we got to put this in there?
I mean, I think this is great, and I'm just really glad that we're doing it. So I'm totally happy with this. The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw, I did add like a part 2 onto this, and whether we want to touch this at all is, you know, the first question. But secondly, if we want to kind of try to tackle it with the tree ordinance, shelf it for a later discussion, whatever, but it's basically, so the point that Dana had raised on one of our prior meetings about the changing the code to address native plants and pollinators and grasses, to avoid getting city fines for having that stuff when they're not technically weeds. And then secondly, I threw in eliminating turf grass. It's something that cities all over the Southwest are starting to look at. So I think as a sustainability committee, maybe we should consider, you know, Englewood adopting some sort of plan to eliminate new turf grass on like new construction homes or whatnot. It's happening all over the place, and I included links to articles where it is happening. And just the major impacts and the Colorado River Compact and what that's kind of doing to Colorado and all of our neighboring states. So up to the group on, you know, if we want to talk about that now, just tackle the tree ordinance, shelf these topics for a later date. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put them in front of everybody, so.
Any thoughts?
My gut is to decouple them.
Yeah, me too. Just because they're not really the same.
I mean, right before you walked in, I was talking about what Aurora does and getting rid of turf on new build, right? So I was super interested in that topic and want to flesh it out more. I just think it should be maybe separate from what we send to council in this particular memo.
So, and I think council has requested specifics surrounding trees. And I think that from that perspective, we should probably honor that.
Lovely topic though.
It is
I'm sorry,
our like job to send recommendations to council. So
Yeah.
yes, they have asked for a tree ordinance specifically, which yes, we have that part tackled, I think. But we can send other recommendations to council
I think we
for
certainly
other
should,
topics, so.
especially on that topic.
First of all, I think it's great. I think the discussion and the insight into pollinator gardens and new types of landscaping is very much in the realm of our purview. Bridging off of what Logan said, decoupling, and Rick, you might have some thoughts on this. City council right now is on overload, and I don't know the timing. Maybe I'm wimping out on this, I don't know, help me on this. I don't know if you're following what's going on with city council. Last night's meeting ran after midnight. If we send a recommendation to city council in 2 weeks, is that even gonna get looked at? I mean, would we be better off to wait a while to send it to them? Just like we might wait a while to send them our thoughts on pollinator gardens and low water landscaping.
Sure.
I just don't know. If we send it to them, will they put it on a shelf and pull it off the shelf 2 months later, or will it be lost to the ages? I just don't know, but I wonder about that.
We could ask our resident council expert about that.
Yes, we could. Joe?
Or liaison to the council.
I don't, I would be kind of surprised if this makes it onto the agenda, and then I don't know when, if it's on the council calendar or not. I haven't seen it on there, but we have a lot to consider in the next few weeks anyway, so it may come sometime in October or November.
So would it be better to staple this to the tree ordinance that was asked for, or not, and do it separately?
Oh, I would do that. Yeah, I would do that separately. Make us for the turf. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, the turf and the native gardens.
Yeah, I would send council, one recommendation at a time. I don't know, I don't know about bundling those two. I think you may have more support for a tree ordinance than you would have for a turf elimination ordinance.
You don't want to lose good momentum for something that needs more time.
What? I'm sorry, I can't hear. You have to help me. I'm gonna get headphones. I really have, I'm terrible.
Joe recommended that they do be separate.
Okay.
That they should be separate.
And
Okay.
Stephen concurred in the sense to not squash any momentum.
You could actually couch it in something which said, the Sustainability Committee has a number of suggestions regarding blank. The first of these is a response to the council's request. Is this based upon, we will be following this up with,
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm all for like separating, the part two kind of,
Hard to do.
it's totally fine. I just put it all on one piece of paper. But I guess the next question is, if we take this, the tree ordinance, and send the recommendation out to council, is there any chance of this getting lost in the shuffle of things going on right now? I mean, are we better off sitting on this for a couple months and then sending it out? Or is there zero chance that this will get lost and it'll just get put on the agenda for a few months out?
Are you talking about the tree protection one?
Yeah, the
specifically?
tree,
Got it.
the tree one specifically.
I would say if you send it, send it on to city council, that it will get scheduled at some point. It'll go on, we have a long-term council calendar where things get kind of put on and shuffled around, and it'll get agended where it fits in, and we'll get to it eventually.
Okay.
Joe, did you put parameters on eventually? Is that a month or two, or is that?
I couldn't say, I'm not, I don't go to mayor manager meetings or set any agendas. So honestly, I rarely even watch those agenda setting meetings. So I couldn't even venture a guess as to what the timing on this would be.
I think we send it.
What's the feeling of the group?
I think we send it. We put the work in, and this is what they asked for. And we can't control a lot of what's going on with council right now. We can't control this. And this is what we're here to do.
And it gets it off our plate.
Yeah, so we check the box and put the ball in their court, even if it's taken up, later in October, maybe November.
You don't hear about it in 6 months, we'll just submit it again?
Yeah, that's my follow-up question is who does who presses? Is it now?
Sure.
For this, if it's not calendared in 6 weeks,
Keep an eye on it.
I'll submit it and then I can work with about when would be a good time to put it on the city council calendar, but I can keep note of it and keep track of it.
Great.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that's juggled, but it doesn't seem that anything actually just falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
There's
a
still
system.
functioning. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So can we entertain a motion?
With edits. These edits, yeah.
And then you all just didn't give any general consensus on Christine's edits. I just want to acknowledge them to see if those would be added into Evans or not, if you all are motioning.
That's fine.
Pull this up bigger.
I don't think there was even a 504.
Is that Christine's only edit?
Mm-hmm, this top stuff.
It looks like the urban forester did a thorough edit of number 4. So is this in addition to that, or is it replaced? So
And
her first
Christine,
sentence,
that-
yeah, her
Christine,
first
the-
sentence looks like the city forester agreed with her and brought it way down.
So Christine submitted these edits after you all got the city
Oh.
forester's edits. Christine, the only thing I'll say is that Evan did remove the assistant forester part, so if we did it, would you be okay if, okay, perfect, just want to make sure.
She actually means the font size.
I think it's
Yeah, she's
fine.
already-
Yeah, so the font, yeah.
Clarification is yes.
So the main thing, because the font, that's easy peasy, is adding, which will be determined using standardized calculations by the urban forester. On the first page, 7th line, so I can pull that up.
That's an edit. It's not profound.
Confused, where is that?
Uh,
Is it within the body of what he?
It's here.
Red line?
So on the first page, the second to last paragraph,
Oh, it's not on
Like,
4.
a
Okay,
couple sentences up, yeah.
thank you.
He's got assistant urban crossed out.
Oh, that's what I found it. Christine, do you want to explain your edit a little bit, or your thought process behind that?
I thought it might give people reading it for the first time some more confidence that this would be going about in a calculated, rational manner, and the fee or the determination of the value of a tree wouldn't just be up to Evan's mood that day, or if he'd had his coffee or not.
Yeah, I agree.
We all need our coffee.
Can you scroll back up to the,
Yeah.
to Christine's edit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I like that.
I think it's fine. I don't have any issue with Christine did it.
So,
And taking out, he already crossed out assistant,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but add the using standard calculations. That's great.
I would support that.
Did Tiana make a motion, or was that?
Am I even allowed to? I'm an alternate.
You're an alternate?
Yeah.
I'm terrible. Okay.
Now we have a quorum.
Yeah,
What's up?
would we make
We
a
ended with a quorum
motion,
anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
would we make a motion to accept the Forester's version of this with the amendment of Christine's edits? Is that the way that it was stated?
Mhm.
Okay. I would make a motion that we accept the modifications to the statement that were done by the Forester with the amendments of Christine's edits. Is there a
That's
second?
beautiful.
I'm working on them.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Perfect.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It passes. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Good work, all.
That feels good.
Okay, let's talk about Depot Park, the volunteer update. Cara?
Depot Park looks fabulous. Y'all have
Love it.
driven or walked by, looks really great. So thank you to all of you that have showed up and helped. We've got one more session to go next week. And then I think everything will start turning into fall and going into hibernation mode. So, yeah, it looks really good and
Same tonight.
hopefully we can do it again next year,
When's the next, what day next week?
Wednesday, 5:30.
Okay.
It's been an education to know that a weed isn't always a weed and a flower is not always a flower.
But Michael and I saw monarch eggs last week too.
That's huge.
Poor Cara, I almost destroyed a whole
It was a close call.
nest full of butterfly eggs. She's like, no!
I don't know
What
if
am I
you-
doing? So you live and you learn.
You may live and learn, they don't live and learn though.
If there are fewer monarchs going to Mexico this year, it's me.
Because of Mike. You're gonna be careful. You're gonna be exiled.
I know,
You're gonna
I
be
just-
exiled from Depot.
Mr. Sustainability, right? So, sorry about that.
Now you know.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Communication Subcommittee.
That's me.
Please, take it away.
So we met with, it was myself, Cara, Tracy. Patrick couldn't make the evening that we met. That was the 28th of last month. Had a really productive meeting. Was kind of voluntold by both of them to take a chair. So here I am presenting to the commission, as chair of the subcommittee. Despite my pushback. But we had a great meeting, very productive. And the focus of our meeting was setting a tentative, if Mel, if you could bring it up at some point, a tentative content calendar. Really solely focused around the quarterly magazine with a secondary line of communication being the monthly newsletter that Mel mentioned. If there's a late edition or we miss a deadline or there's something pressing like a volunteer event, we need to get the word out, we can use something like the monthly newsletter to reinforce what we do in the quarterly magazine. So I would like to lay out some of the content ideas that we discussed over the next calendar year. And then I'd like feedback from all of you guys with, and then supporting commentary from Tracy and Cara, a little bit of behind the why we chose.
This is what you were talking about,
Yeah,
right?
this is
Okay.
great. Thank you. If you can somehow Zoom. So winter was tricky. We met on we met on 8/28, which is when the content, it was due that week. So we were up against the deadline and I might have to lean on Tracy or maybe Mel, if we were able to get anything in that week. We might have been past when it was due. But some content ideas that we wanted to see in the winter magazine, which will, if not this winter, some of these are topics that we can kind of have running perpetually each season, right? Just reminders to the public. We wanted to start by focusing on the solar education that we had last month, really talking about and highlighting the rebates and vouchers. Tracy, any update on that? Were you able to connect with the presenters from last month?
I haven't emailed into them, I haven't.
Okay, no problem. And then we wanted some low-hanging fruit was a composting update. Mel and Tracy were gonna work on that. I saw an email from you about the composting locations. And then last, I wanted to get a biochar update in the winter one. We might kick that to the spring because I think that's great. The public needs to hear more about that project and what.
Get the picture now, though.
Yes, okay, that's good feedback. I think the point is I'm not sure that we were able to hit the deadline because we met the day it was probably due, which is unfortunate, but we have this calendar planned out, so I still think we're ahead of the ball for the spring, certainly. Any thoughts, feedback on solar education, rebates, vouchers, composting updates, and then a biochar? If we were able to get that in, would that have been a pretty solid update? Let me back up. I apologize real quick. What we wanted to do and what I'd like to push for is a standing half page in the magazine. I don't know if there's real estate for that or if are there costs associated? I don't know. That's a question for Mel. But that was our idea, is at least a half page where we could highlight the work that we're doing, projects that we know are ongoing in the community, and really push the public education piece when it comes to what's available. And I'll expand on that in a minute, and I'll have Tracy speak to some turf replacement grants that she's dug into. But any feedback or disagreement on pushing for a standing half page in the quarterly magazine? I saw a thumbs up from Christine. Pretty good place to start.
It's great.
Okay. Doable?
I don't actually know. I know that usually they do kind of like snippets in there, but for all I know, that could be totally doable. So I can
Yeah.
definitely ask them.
Okay. Well, we'd work, I presume we'd work through you. And then we'd work with the communications team to develop sort of maybe what, we can weigh in on what that looks like as a static half page, but I really would leave that up to them to draw up the.
I will say for the composting drop off, that was in our last magazine. So was
Okay.
was
Good
the
to know.
hope that that would just continuously be in the magazine?
Yeah.
Or it should.
And another thing, we have the half page check. That'd be awesome if we could secure that, right? I think a takeaway was that we would always have a link, or if you want to know more, visit our engaged page, or point to a link, sign up for the monthly newsletter, the email newsletter, right? So they're always having access to available resources. So that was winter. I kind of breezed through that because I didn't think that we were able to meet that deadline. So looking forward, let's talk spring. Spring is due the first week of December, and this goes out late January. So we're in winter, kind of looking forward. What do we want Inglewoodians to be focused on? What do we want them to be hearing from us as we transition from winter to spring, right? We had a couple ideas, and I might hand this to Cara for a second to talk about, because it's a fantastic idea. But we had plug a Depot Park update. Where's the park? Maybe a photo from Volunteer Day, and then maybe list some upcoming volunteer opportunities. And then an Earth Day plug, because the timing is a little bit funky with Earth Day coming up a few months after that. So Depot Park, Earth Day, because it's upcoming. And then Cara, if you want to talk about the Denver Audubon Society's City Nature Challenge.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So the City Nature Challenge is, I think it's the last weekend in April. It goes on for 3 or 4 days. Michael and I spoke with Kate Hogan at the Denver Audubon Society. And basically what it is just a push to get people outside and kind of focus on the nature around them. And there's an app called iNaturalist, and you go in and you just upload your photos, and it's kind of like a social science experiment. You're contributing to, research, if enough people can validate, what you're uploading, if it's an insect, a plant, whatever. And it's just sort of a really cool thing. And so there's really no like true competitive nature to it. It's just sort of a friendly competition, if you will, among neighboring cities, in the Denver metro area. But they really focus on these last few days. I think it's in April. I don't have to get the specifics, but that's when they want to see like as many updates as possible in the app. And so I think that would be really cool if we could kind of plug that. There's no cost. It's an app you download on your phone, and it's just, hey, go take pictures of what you see outside,
And that's sort of the challenge, is uploading the photos of.
Yep, you just upload the photo in the app, and kind of get as many in there as you can. So, but it's like an event that the Denver Audubon Society does. So
that's late April. That was a fun idea, kind of highlight. It's I guess it's from the Denver's Audubon chapter, but it would allow Inglewood to sort of lean into that and just highlight some of the efforts that we've got going on at a residential level. And hey, send a photo of biochar. I mean, I think that's a cool little program. Free again. So thank you, Cara. And then turf replacement grants. Second round of grants are rolling out, and I want that to be highlighted. And Tracy, I'll give you the mic for a second, because you've gone through this, and I would probably lean on you to provide a little bit of a sentence or two testimony of the success that these grants have been for you.
Well, it's City of Inglewood has partnered with Resource Central. And so I guess the state had given money to each city, and we were given $500 if we remove our grass.
Yeah, you were.
So,
that's big.
Yeah. So I removed my grass by hand, because you're given two options. You can either put the $500 towards hiring a company to come in and do it, or if you remove it yourself, then the Resource Central, the Garden in a Box, I don't know if you've heard of that, but they give you the $500 worth of plants, which are now sitting on my deck, getting ready to plant in my bare yard. So yeah, I have a project going on, but it's exciting.
Is the requirement to remove all of your grass or a portion?
Yes.
Oh, so you literally you're bearing the
Only
front
It's
lawn,
bare.
both
Yeah.
lawns,
You
the
only
whole
have to
thing?
remove 200 square feet. You don't have to
Oh.
remove the whole thing.
Well, I removed it all.
Ambitious.
So
Yeah, the minimum
I
is-
wanted to.
I do want to plug that. My neighbor across the street did it this last weekend, and she applied, got her money, and she
It's not
pulled up
hard.
her whole yard, and she's redoing the whole thing. It's a great.
That's really easy.
So would love to get some, testimony from Tracy, or even I can go ask my neighbor, get a few sentences from her on just what's up.
I'm gonna add to this, just, so we actually sent out someone from communications to go for a lawn removal day for someone who got this rebate. And so I haven't seen it yet, but we have like video and an interview with that person, so we have that good to go.
Okay, check. And then an Earth Day plug. And if do we want to do anything at Depot that day? Do we want to do a plug it at least with something? So those are the 4 bullets for the spring edition. Any thoughts? You're in the middle of winter, you're preparing for spring. What else would we want to talk about? What else would we want to highlight?
What about the from the time before, if it got skipped?
Yeah, that's fair. And I wonder how much can we fit on half a page?
Yeah.
So we would have to sort of yes, no,
Yeah.
line item it, but I figured there could be some carry down from what we missed. If you
Good
could,
time to plant a tree.
good time to plant a tree.
Spring.
And I know for Earth Day, they
This could
have.
be
and-
planted in winter, or I guess this would go out the last week of January, right? So would you be tree planting at
Well,
that point?
if you've got the choice, I guess, of January or April, you can wait till April for that one.
Yeah, the next edition will go out middle of April.
Yeah.
Yeah, for summer. Yeah.
Wait till
Yeah.
April then.
You know the tree program that Englewood does?
Mhm.
I think you were about to talk about that.
Yeah, they always advertise for that in the magazine, so that should be
It
taken
does, they do
care
in
of.
the
Yeah,
magazine.
because that's a set day, so that's easy to put in the magazine. What's hard to put in there, I see that someone had Earth Day plug. We have every intention of continuing that Earth Day celebration that we did last year with Grow and Gather. It's just hard when it's that deadline of, December to have everything in stone for something that happens end of April. But that is the intention to do it again.
Could we even just put a reminder in there that the tree sale is gonna happen, which is a good thing, but the Sustainability Commission says on our quarter page, just a blurb that says, don't forget.
Yep.
If you're gonna plant a
Dates to
tree, here's an
remember,
opportunity,
boom, 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 boom.
just plug it a little bit more, and seems like a rational connection there.
Could we add a QR code on there that could get people right to the events right on our part of the site on, what is it? Elevate? Whatever the-
Engaged.
To the
Engaged, thank you.
sustainability engaged page.
Yeah, just that way, whatever, in other words, you're basically giving the high level stuff on the ad, but then you go into the detail on the engaged page.
I think it's a brilliant idea there.
Hey, I got a connection. If someone's gonna plant a tree, we could give them a little bag of biochar. I'm serious. If you're gonna plant a tree, put a little biochar in, it's good for it. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone, but I mean, there is real advantage to doing that, and it's educational.
We're not
It's good.
We're not trying to kill birds.
For the record.
Or
butterflies. Yeah. I think we pull down a biochar update, maybe even the solar education. Because if you're gonna plug tree planting, I think you do couple it with biochar.
I mean, it's an easy thing. A bag of biochar is $17. So I mean, you could have a baggie of biochar, and when you plant your tree, there you go. From the Sustainability Commission, keep up the good work.
What's the tree planting date? Do we know? Or
The tree
Early?
sale date.
Yeah, sorry, tree
It's on
sale date.
Arbor Day and sometime in April. I know can't remember the date specifically. The one thing I will say, so I know you all said you want to get biochar with the trees, but that is a cost, so then who bears that cost? How much do you get? Like, there's just like layers to doing stuff that you have to think through too.
We could all chip in $2 and get a couple bags, big bags of biochar. But I mean, it's not expensive, is all I'm getting at, so.
What I can do is I can put on my list to talk with Evan and Adrian for their tree sale and see
Sure.
if they want to couple it with extra amenities with the community as well.
And Evan's all over this, by the way. He could talk about it, because he's worked with biochar in the past, so I talked to him and I was preaching to the choir. He totally got it, so. And I think it's good to know that Englewood has a forester.
Yeah.
I think that's newsworthy in itself.
And an awesome forester at that, if you guys
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
I can't remember if he said his background when he presented, but yeah, he's just a really smart,
Yeah,
really awesome
so
guy.
We can get a quote from Evan and put that in the section too. So you can see, we had to pare down, we had a lot of ideas for the spring. We had to kind of pare that down. So I think next, since this isn't due until December, not saying that we're going to wait to submit our ideas, but I think first is we need the green light that we're gonna have a half page as soon as possible, if we can find that out. And then I can put together at our next subcommittee meeting, which we've got on the calendar, we can focus that meeting on spring content. And then at our ensuing meeting in October, we can line item and say yes to this, yes, 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 strike that, put it in the fall or whatever. Finalize our content and then run that to Mel to the communications team. And be, 6 to 8 weeks ahead of the ball. Because I think it'll move quickly.
I just wanted to add, I sat in on that phone call with Kate Hogan. That nature challenge is cool and it's fun. And I think it's a great awareness thing. It's such a slam dunk for us to
Just
just,
a community engagement
yeah,
tool.
it's just cool. So in fact, I want to get it on my phone soon because it's fun and it's relevant. So to me, easy thing to communicate,
Yep.
easy thing to bridge, and another example where we've got our radar on and we're looking for things related to sustainability.
Yeah, and they also do, like trainings, like out at the Chatfields.
Arboretum.
Yeah, what's it?
Arboretum,
No.
Nature Center or something.
Yeah, there's like one in Denver and the botanical,
But, yeah,
Garden,
the
yeah.
South Botanical Gardens.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
Chatfield.
it's down there by Chatfield, and they host, I think she said they have like 4 separate gardens, and I think only one of them is on irrigation, and so this summer things have just been exploding, but it's like a rain garden, like there's been no irrigation at all, which is really cool when they do a lot of educational events out there, and I know she said they'd be willing to work with Englewood and do something, closer to town if we wanted to, but to just get more community engagement, awareness for springtime planting season. So
I think that's the focus of the spring edition. And do you have any idea how long it might, a couple of days to get a green light for this, or are they gonna have to work us in
I
and
actually
figure
just
out?
emailed them right now, so.
So you'll let us
Before I
know as soon
forget.
as, okay.
That's great.
Yeah, as long as we have an idea before our next subcommittee meeting on the 25th, that'd be great. So 2 weeks. Okay. Love the ideas. As a subcommittee, we will put all the ideas together for the spring edition and then bring it back to all you guys, and we'll talk about it as an agenda item in October. But continuing on, I've got about 10 minutes here if we're sticking on time. Summer. Due in February, goes out, let's call it mid-April, which so much is going on around like mid to late April, so the timing's a little bit tricky. But looking to summer, I've mentioned this a couple times. I've mentioned this a couple times over the last year, and it's working and partnering with Cafe 180, and they do a summertime landscaping education day. So I'd like to work, Mel, you and I have talked about this. Maybe we can reach out to, well, hell, who just won Citizen of the Year? Isn't that their executive director?
Kelly.
I'm really interested in partnering with them on, it's a weekend, I think it's in June maybe, and seeing how we can help, how we can partner. If they need bodies there, I'm happy to go for the commission, whatever. So that's one idea. Tracy, you mentioned
5280.
5280.
They have a new location over by me, so I got a tour of it, and the woman that gave us a tour just talked about getting the community involved and doing a community garden there, and getting the kids, their 20s, involved with the program, which I think is a great idea. So unfortunately, the woman that gave me a tour, I found out was dismissed from her position, so I haven't been able to, been working on
Kelly
trying
would
to
do
get.
that too.
She would?
Yeah, because Kelly's connected with 52.
Oh, good, yeah,
Okay.
so we can keep working on that.
Do you know Kelly?
Reach out to her.
Yeah, I might follow up with you one-on-one, and we can reach out to her both about Cafe 180 Education Day and this community garden. So I'd love to go see it personally, and then is there a partnership opportunity?
Yeah.
Cara, you got the next bullet here. So can we, sorry, go ahead.
you ready?
Yep.
Take it away.
Too many thoughts.
So Tiana and her partner actually made me aware of the Table Public House. They do like an urban garden program where you basically donate like space in your yard to grow vegetables that are donated to the Table Public House, and they disperse among various food groups, for the homeless or, folks in need across the community. And so I think I'm plan to meet with Janine on the 28th of September to kind of talk about that. So thank you for mentioning that. even if we don't do anything with that, I've always wanted to do something because I grow way too many vegetables in my yard every year. But yeah, so that would be kind of cool if we could do a little plug or something, get people involved to kind of help them build their mission. So you might know more about it than I do because I haven't officially talked to her yet, other than setting a date to chat. So
I'll just say it is a really cool program and it was really easy. Like they've done everything basically. Like they came and put, llama manure in our front garden plot area, and then they gave us all the plants and we planted them, but then they installed like the drip line and the water and
Oh, wow.
a little meter, and so now we just have like a ton of peppers and lettuce growing in our front yard.
I love that.
Yeah.
So they'll come do all of that for you. Is there a cost associated with it?
No. They have I'm not exactly sure about, there's a meter on our little front watering thing, and I don't know how they're tracking it or whatever. I don't know that part, but yeah.
I'm gonna write a note for myself to sign up for that.
I think the food is mostly going to just neighbors and community too. They have like a little bike, and then also at the Table Public House, they just have like a little sign that says free vegetables. So anybody can grab them.
Does that program benefit Inglewoodians too, or is it just
Benefiting what?
Inglewood? I know they're technically in Denver.
Table technically is, it's like a couple streets down, but my house is Inglewood, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That answers that. So we want to push those 3 summer partnership opportunities.
I like that they're all the same theme.
Yeah, right. Any thoughts, feedback? Any strong opinions either way about Cafe 180, 5280 Table Public House, and why we shouldn't partner with them?
Sounds good.
If there's anything else, any other partnership opportunities that we can plug, please keep them front of mind and bring them up here. All right, wrapping this up. Fall, due the first week of June and goes out mid to late July. So that's in time for the leaf cleanup. I think this is a great time to plug composting, this time next year, maybe a little earlier. And then heading into winter, we bulleted energy audit, what resources are available. We heard a little bit about that last month, doing an energy audit, and I learned a lot. I didn't know that those were resources available to me. So I think that's important. It's just to get on that public education piece. And we don't have to wait that long to do that, but I just figured, we're getting into fall, heading into winter, that might be a seasonally appropriate time to plug something like that. Any other ideas? You're transitioning from summer to fall. What do we want?
I'm a participant in the Denver Urban Gardens, and there's a gentleman over there who is a composting maestro. He really knows what he's doing. We've got 3 large composting bins. Heck of a nice guy. If you ever wanted somebody to just explain it and demonstrate it, that's right next to the pollinator garden. And I haven't said anything to him, but just be aware, he's out there. So
It's good to know.
when you say composting, I think there's a resource there that we could tap into if we ever wanted to.
What else? And again, this is a 1-2 punch. You have the quarterly magazine, bulk of content. Hopefully we get a standing section there. But then if there's something that we want to plug on a quicker basis, or if we want to send some multimedia, like a video or something from your resource of composting, I feel like that's maybe something we could drop link
That's
into
a great idea.
the monthly email
Could we
newsletter.
make a YouTube or something?
We could make a YouTube.
Yeah.
I
Anyway.
think this is a good time to plug. I told the communication subcommittee this, but on the ever-growing list is to start the sustainability newsletter from the city sometime in October, most likely November though. So that could be a place where you all could put information too.
is that monthly or quarterly?
That would likely, just capacity wise, that would likely be quarterly.
Oh, okay.
I think if I was feeling audacious, I could do monthly, but it's just me 4 days a week.
What, are we talking about a paper newsletter or the electronic?
So for the
newsletter?
Englewood Engage page, there, you can sign up for newsletters specific to that page. So if you sign up to that, you get an email newsletter, it would be paper.
So we could do that off of the drop date for the magazine, so we get it double again.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Mhm.
There you go. I like the idea.
B-roll.
Everything's always A-roll.
Mel, did you say that earlier that the tree planting day, the city already is advertising that?
I'll check in to make sure with them, but at least as far as I know, every year they make sure to get it in there just because it's a standing date. Those are really easy to put in the magazine. It's not gonna change or anything. But I can make sure that it'll be in the magazine through Adrian.
Great, if you can confirm that, I wonder if we can drop it into our section and have a little ownership over that. Just a thought. Not maybe ownership, just support.
Reinforcement.
Reinforcement. Okay, that's, we meet again in a few weeks. And our idea, the goal is to meet as a subcommittee quarterly, 6 weeks or so before the deadline of the next magazine. That way we have at least 2 commission meetings to hash out what finalized content we want to send in. That's what we accomplished.
Good show.
So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Tracy, Logan.
it's a good group.
All right. I'll tell you one thing I like about it, it gives us focus because it also says what we're not gonna do. Because there's gonna be other great ideas coming our way. And if we're gonna do something else, then one of these has to come off the list. And I just think it really helps us concentrate and accomplish things. So
Concur.
thank you so much. I think it's terrific.
And yeah, we want to pack everything into this first one, but in time, we will be able to hit on this. It's just what's timely, what should be top of mind, what do we want the public to know that we're doing?
Could we, just throwing this out, this newsletter thing intrigues me and what this is it possible, could it be with these speakers that we have, who have, by the way, every time been dynamite, could we summarize those speakers? Could we semi-interview them? Could we put that into the newsletter as a piece of that, sort of an expert within the sustainability field? Reference it here. I'm just trying to think of how we can capitalize. It's nice that we all hear these wonderful people talk, but it'd be sure nice if other people had that information too.
I love that idea for the email newsletter.
Yeah.
Of the Sustainability Commission heard from, here's some talking points and here's contact information if you're interested.
Exactly.
Also link back to our Engage page. Not always, but yeah, I like that idea, Rick.
I kind
Because
of touched on that last time, like if we could get like a little snapshot of what they said, even in their words, if they could send it to us, that would be great.
concur.
That's a great idea.
Good idea.
Just a tidbit, talking about Evan, a tree was cut down in front of the rec center recently, and of course, I'm over there playing in the flowers, and I went over one day, I was like, whoa.
Tiptoes to.
Well, I
like
texted
that. That's
Evan,
good.
and I said, what's going on? And he was great, he answered it, son of a gun. He said, the tree was not healthy, it was at high risk for elm borer, and also the tree is old and it's close to the building, so the root system was heading towards the building. I think that's interesting. I don't know if it should be on the BBC or not, but back to Logan's point about communications and what the heck's going on around here. When the city cuts down a tree, there's a story behind it, and it's educational. So anyways, things like that happen in Englewood, and if we could keep people informed, I think it's relevant. But kind of hate to see that tree stump over there, but we could plant a tree in its place, maybe next April.
So I sort of rolled what I talked about, this subcommittee update into communications and future projects. So we'll discuss at our next meeting and report back in October. and get the final okay to send that in for the spring newsletter.
Okay, can we move on to city updates now?
Awesome, so I have some top ones for y'all. So we have the final Household Hazardous Waste and Electronic Equipment event this Saturday. We had a low turnout sadly for last week, and we found out it's because apparently the Dick's Sporting Goods was hosting a hazardous waste too, and they had like an hour-and-a-half line. Because Littleton and I were like, where are the people at? So come on over. It's the last time for the year. We also want to mention that we are exploring, we're not for sure, we're just exploring transitioning this one time a year event to actually an at your door program for 2024. I get between 2 to 5 calls a week from people throughout the entire year, people trying to look to get rid of hazardous waste. And there's nothing that peeves people off more when you tell them in January to hold on to their waste until September. So the program, they would just kind of sign up. They would get a bag delivered. They could fill this huge bag and put out actually a TV, a huge monitor, all for the same price that they're paying just for hazardous waste right now. So it's kind of like a win-win-win-win.
Yeah.
So that's something we're looking for 2024. The city in August, we launched our internal green team, which is amazing. I need all the help I can get, and it's gone really well so far. We meet once a month, and there's a representative from each and every department. And then finally, we submitted the grant to expand our turf replacement program in partnership with Resource Central. In 2024, we served 11 homes, maybe 12. They're still getting back to me on that, but 11 homes. And then if we get this grant funding, we could serve 30 homes in 2024. And then my last thing that's not on here, it's really, really exciting. I know last meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago, I said that there was a regional application for a waste characterization study. Last week, we just heard that we were chosen. So that is going to be an 18-month process that's going to be kicking off in the next couple months. It'll be really huge, at least data-wise and program and policy-wise for waste in South Denver. So
Super cool.
yeah.
Excellent. Wow.
Can you repeat that last thing, Mel?
Yeah, so the city of Englewood, Littleton, Sheridan, and Centennial submitted a joint application to the Colorado Department of Public Health's Forward program. They have a technical assistance program of that program that provides free technical assistance. That's another part that I forgot to leave out. It provides free technical assistance. So we applied as a regional front to see if they would take on doing a waste characterization study for our region. So they're going to be doing all the hard labor of going to the landfill, sorting what our waste looks like so we can get really great data on that. And then kind of doing a lot of like education and just a lot of outreach around waste for our area. So even though it's completely free, no cost to the cities that are part of it, the 4 that I mentioned, the estimated value of this project is about $700,000. So pretty awesome. We're really amped to be chosen, and the state was really excited about our application too, which is really nice.
Great.
Well done. Hey, Mel, could you make sure that
Tracy.
we get a report or whatever the findings are? I think just for our own edification, it might be interesting for this group to read it
Yeah,
and think
absolutely.
about it.
Everything should be wrapping up in like 18 months. It's a
Okay.
long project, but definitely I'll keep everyone updated as there are big kind of milestones hit. Absolutely.
Love it.
Okay.
What does the internal green team do?
The internal green team, so far we've met twice. And the first one was kind of a kickoff, seeing what everyone really wanted to do. But from that first meeting, we launched a sustainable break room pilot for the break room here. So instead, we have like reusable utensils for people, and we use Grow kind of dish soap. So it's kind of like these small things within the organization that we can kind of do.
That's awesome.
It also really helps because sometimes we have initiatives and it's hard for me to reach every single person in every department. So they're there really to champion sustainability within their department. And then for projects within the sustainability plan that directly relate kind of internally, so the paper processes is a really good one. They're helping me with that too.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, just more brains for a problem. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mel?
Good updates.
Thank you. Very good. October meeting, any ideas? Anything we want to make sure to talk about or learn about? Or?
I put a potential on there, and honestly, this probably will be November.
Okay.
Wrapping up the low-income energy efficiency strategy, it's so close to being done, so it'll either come before you guys in October or November, so it'll be soon.
Okay.
We'll report back as a subcommittee, I said like 4 times
Okay.
already. I don't know,
That may be a lot.
Do we wanna look at your part 2 and like,
yeah. All right, maybe.
Do we want, talk about part 2? Maybe make it part 3? I don't know. Read those out.
Yeah, I mean, as I was talking to Mel before we got here, a part 3 could be, I'd love to explore an Inglewood e-bike rebate program.
I think
So-
what I had included was, they're both in part 2, but one is like the code around the weed ordinance, right?
Yeah.
And changing that to incorporate natives. And the 2 is the turf elimination.
Did
So
you
those
all,
are kind of 2 separate things, but.
I know you both said you were gonna talk at the codes commission about it, I didn't know if you wanted to update that
The Codes Commission, we had
around
a
turf?
question relating to rules and regulations relating to e-bikes. And I have done a little bit of research. The fact of the matter is, there's not a lot of specificity in terms of federal guidelines for e-bikes. Like how fast they can they go on bicycle paths or not?
Right.
I'm gonna share that with code enforcement. The question we were asking ourselves was, should Englewood step up to the plate and maybe make its own rules of the road for e-bikes? There really are some safety issues and some etiquette issues that have not been answered. Are you allowed to go through Bellevue Park? Yes or no? Is there a
And
speed
actually,
limit?
the answer is yes.
Yeah, today you
Right
can.
now, it is. And however, you mentioned about like federal rules, you cannot take an e-bike in a national park,
Right.
for instance. So there have been some guidelines coming down which could translate into our own policies. I think that's the purview of the council to kind of do that. However, we could get the first step rolling by, recommending that the council look at a policy, because as we know from the changes that are coming down through Code Next, some of the Broadway corridor studies, we're having a lot of changes to pathways through the city, and addressing that ahead of the game instead of waiting until somebody gets hurt, I think would be ideal.
Yeah.
I see that Christine has her hand raised.
Yes.
so.
It's a safety issue, and it's also a sustainability issue in that we're encouraging e-bikes, but we don't want people to get hurt on e-bikes. So there's a balancing act. I think we'll be talking about it next week at our meeting, but there's no reason we couldn't tag team between the 2 groups in terms, this is what we're looking at. What does the Sustainability Commission think? The idea of a rebate program, I think it's a great idea. We're gonna get you an e-bike. And so, but we want you to be safe.
But I want to be safe. I'll wear a helmet. Christine, what's up? Thank you, Mike.
You mentioned there's no federal regulations, but I thought I recalled there was some state regulations on this already, which would maybe make more sense because you wouldn't want one rule in Inglewood and then you're going up the Platte and then you hit Denver and suddenly your bike can't go there anymore. So maybe we can dig into where I might have seen that at the state level.
That makes sense.
I don't know if you guys have tried it, but that does happen. Like if you ride a Uber scooter on Broadway, like you hit a certain street, it goes.
No way.
Really?
It just stops?
Well, it doesn't stop, but it goes way, way, way slower.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you might as well be walking.
That's
That's funny.
wild, okay. Didn't know that.
Sorry, for the codes commission, what I was referring to is if you all had brought the turf recommendation from Dana to code. Sorry about that. I should have.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't connect. We had a brief conversation about it. Rick, correct me, but there were some other issues on the table that I kind of pushed that discussion.
Without going into too many details, the SEAC committee is struggling right now. We've changed our leadership on that committee within the last 2 months. There have been other issues that are really taking front and center. And once I think the dust settles, I think we'll be able to introduce more of that onto the agenda.
I think the recommendations that were recommended through Dana are all reasonable. I don't think there's anything in there that's over the top. But I also think we need to get the undivided attention of SEAC to have the conversation. So I can assure you, Rick and I will not let it fall through the cracks. We'll keep that topic alive.
One other thing, and I think Mike, you had mentioned this, something to do with like ADUs and the parking.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Actually, Rick was talking to, I'm gonna pick on Rick here for a second. But Rick, you had said, somebody gave testimony last night that raised some interesting questions about e-bikes.
Yeah, not e-bikes.
I'm sorry.
Are you referring to the ADU issue
Yes, the
associated with
ADUs and charging
stations?
Yeah, parking and charging.
Parking and charging. Last night, the council came to some conclusions and basically ratified the UDC modifications of the code next. Within that, and I welcome Joe to clarify for me, please. But one of the recommendations that was acted upon was limiting or not specifying parking for ADU units. What that means is that it's potentially that a ADU's parking will happen on the street as part of the way the code is written. What that also means is that if you are living in an ADU, if you are renting an ADU or whatever, there's a possibility that you're not going to have any place to plug in an electric car, as in nothing. And so, knowing that our desire is to increase and encourage more green types of things within the city, it seems as though this ADU code is working against that by not having the availability of a charging station in a convenient way. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't charge it in an ADU. If you have, if the owner of the lot allows you to pull off into the driveway or whatever, or into the garage and charge, that's true. But as it stands, if you had an ADU that the only parking available is on the curb, there would be no way that an electric car could be charged in that facility. So it was a concern that kind of came up as I was listening to the testimony last night.
I'll just say, as an EV owner, I don't have access to charging at home, and it hasn't been an issue for me.
Okay.
I charge all other places, but that's just me.
No,
It's nice to charge at home though.
it's good to know.
Yeah, back to October ideas.
Yeah, we jumped ahead, I'm sorry, but we can loop back, but let's wrap up October ideas and then we can move on to public input.
I think we do a subcommittee report and then keep pressing on cars, part 2, possibly part 3 of what we might want to recommend to the city. Start there.
Okay. Good idea. We good with that? All right.
Solid. Head nods
Thanks,
online.
Logan. We were getting
Yep,
a
no
little
problem.
bit ahead of ourselves. So now, let's go back to public forum. Thanks for the clarification and update, Rick.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. Is that a sustainability issue or not? We have to pick our battles, and again, we have to focus our energies. But it is interesting how things overlap, and sometimes until it's staring you in the face, you haven't thought about that. So, any thoughts or insights or concerns relating to ADUs and electric cars and parking?
I feel like that might be kind of hard because you can't always create another parking space, I don't know if that's a battle that I would be passionate about.
No, I mean, it's just an observation. And I
Yeah.
think part of it is that, you know, one of the forward thinks on the code next process is trying to envision what what's coming down, what we want to do in this city to improve and make it a greener place, make it, you know, and if we have policies coming down that are actually sort of against that or preventing that from happening or, you know, making it more difficult for, you know, not that it would happen, but somebody who says, you know, I live in this ADU and I'm thinking of buying a car, so, but I can't plug it in at my location, that may sway me toward not buying a car that I otherwise might buy. So, anyway, it's, like I said, it's an observation. I just wanted to put it out there for this committee.
Okay. Any other thoughts or ideas? And Mel, you don't have any trouble charging your EV
No?
at home? I mean, do you charge in your garage or you just go to the public charging?
No, I don't have at-home charging. I rent.
Okay.
So I have a pretty good case study on a renter that doesn't have access to at-home charging, and it's never an issue.
Okay. So for you, it's like going to the gas station.
Yeah, you can get free charging in places, like it's pretty easy.
Okay.
I have access at work.
I mean, you have to think like, can you fill up at a gas station at home? Like, no. I mean, so I can't fill up charge right now at work. Sheridan's about to get a charger at theirs, and Good's still in the work of putting chargers together. But Denver Metro is really good with having like fast chargers in level 2s pretty much everywhere.
Good.
Nice.
Let me put you on the spot. As an EV owner, do you ever wish Englewood would do certain things in the future, making it easy for you to charge, say when you're at work? Or does that just not enter your thinking?
I mean, we're already aiming to, in the EV action plan, we have a goal of 5 different EV chargers.
Okay.
So for that infrastructure, yes, but we're already in the works, and Englewood does have a few fast chargers already, like at the King Supers and at some parks.
Thank you for that insight.
You're
I didn't know.
welcome.
I don't own one yet, no.
But you're gonna.
Someday. Okay. All right. Any else, public forum comments, questions, insights? Staff's choice? Staff, you have
I went
anything
over
to choose?
my piece.
Commissioner's choice.
Anything online?
Council liaisons. Joe, do you have anything to say?
No updates from me.
Okay. Well, if there's no further business, I move we adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, gang.
Good meeting. Appreciate it.
Bye online.
Yeah, I'll take it. You text it to me.
So it's, you know,
But I need your phone.
Yep. Yeah.